That's what I get. Basically, this is just a way to the linear decay. Like if I turn this down, the linear decay um, is is less decay than the quadratic. If we go back to this, if we put the same number, let's go back, let's turn this light off and see what happens with this guy. This light, we wanted to have quadratic decay rate. With the intensity of 1, nothing. Let's increase the intensity, let's set 5, 20. Something's showing up. Let's put 100. Now we get a better light. So you see that the decay rates are very different. So here we have a linear. Let's go back to, yeah, let's go to the linear decay and just add this, add like 6. Add the intensity to 6, and then make another, let's color this light. Let's make it light blue. And let's hit a render. So we wanna use this light as a bounce light, so we can simulate some sort of indirect lighting. Right now we have the general setup that for our studio, and we need our camera to, if you select from the viewport your camera, we want it to have a focal length of 80 millimeters. So we want an 80 millimeter lens, so it's more zoomed into our subject. Also, go ahead and press your resolution gate button so you can see what you're framing. You can look at your framing. I'm going to go ahead and frame this object from this, maybe from this top, from the top here, and then I'm going to go ahead and start rendering. What we see here is our objects have acquired the Lambert 1 material. You can see here we have Lambert 1, and that's because everything you bring in Maya, everything you select, everything you actually create in Maya will acquire the default material Lambert 1. I'm going to set my camera right over here and create a bookmark. Edit bookmarks, new bookmark, close. So if I move away and I go back to my bookmarks, I can bring this back. So I can have the same angle, so I can render from the same exact angle all the time and keep comparing. Now, what I want to do is start adding some shadows to the light. So the lights don't have any shadows, and what we need to do is to increase that. Plus, we also want the lights to be a little bit of a wider, have a wider cone angle. So let's increase the cone angle to like 80, and the penumbra angle to 30. That softens out the edges. See now, what we have these edges here. That's the penumbra. And we want the penumbra, we want these edges to soften up a little bit. So let's start with that. No shadows yet. I'm going to do the same with the other light. So let's get this to, let's say 80. And the penumbra angle to 30. See over here the node changes, and you can see if it's when it's 0, you can see it's very sharp. When it's more than, when we start adding some numbers, it's going to start softening the edges. So I'm going to go back to my viewport, back to my camera view 1, and hit render. Look how nice. We don't have any shadows, but at least our light kind of shapes are better at in this render. We could close a little bit the penumbra so we can make it a little more dramatic, or the cone angle. I'm sorry, I meant the cone angle. And let's see if this is so we can kind of create a nicer more degrade area around the corners of our frame. And what I'm going to do now is play with the shadows for a second. Let's go to the key light, and Here are the shadows. We go to the shadows. There's nothing selected, so we want to use depth map shadows. By default, it's 512. Leave it there and try a render. So look at this image. We get a very pixelated shadow. This is not really good. What we need to do is go back and increase the filter size. Instead of like increasing the resolution, a better way to do it is to increase the filter size and turn off the autofocus. This is like one of the recipes I can give you guys. But if we get the filter size up to let's say 4, let's start with 4. This number needs to be low. It gets really heavy with the rendering when you increase this too much. So I'm going to save this rendering with this green button here. I'm going to keep this in the memory and then try another one. Notice the difference. Before and after. Before, very pixelated. After, you can see the difference here. Great. Let's go back to our other light, and which is colored blue. I would like to also decrease kind of the cone angle. It's too big right now, so I'm going to make it 60 and maybe give it a little bit more, like maybe 8 on the intensity. Get more brighter areas around here. We might have to change the light later once we start working with materials, but right now I'm going to also add a shadow to this guy. So shadows, depth, you have to go to the depth map shadow attributes, use depth map shadows and go to the filter size and give it the same number, and do not use autofocus. Let's go to the viewport. Very nice. So now that's the first stage. This is our first tutorial. I want you guys to create this backdrop. Bring the object that I'm going to send you over email, import it into Maya, and set up 2 lights from different angles. One from the left will be your key light, from the right will be your kind of fill light, as it's called. No backlight for this one. And turn the depth shadow map on and with a filter. This is our first tutorial, so there's going to be one more which I'm going to use a lot of materials and keep playing with that, and you guys can view that too, and that would be the homework on Monday, plus some other instructions I'm going to give you over the email.